All right, there we go. All right, so here's what we got. We're going to start and we're going to expand on this stuff, but I wanted to kind of walk through what we're going to talk about. So we are going to look a little bit, we're just going to discuss online learning definitions. I'm going to show you in detail a couple of things I blew through in the morning meeting, like creating a live Q&A with Google Slides and recording your audio for closed captions and subtitles. We're going to discuss the concept of green screen. Unfortunately, I tried to order some stuff to have it, and I was actually going to do a live demo, but none of that stuff has arrived, so much for that. But at least we can, I'll point the resources out, and you guys can check them out later. And then we're going to walk through some lesson starter ideas. And by the way, this is kind of the brainchild. This whole thing is the brainchild of me and Janet. We're trying to form what we're calling team innovation between the tech and the maker department. So she's here. She's going to pipe in throughout when she's got stuff to add and all that good stuff. So and then if we have time, we're going to get to insert learning and Canvas discussions. I have no idea how much everything will take. So I don't know what we'll be able to squeeze into an hour and what we won't. So we'll kind of get through what we get through and go from there. All right. So true virtual classrooms we talked about last time. So I kind of want to open this up to open verbal discussion, but synchronous versus asynchronous. Anybody got their thoughts on what they think those two things mean?
Synchronous is like a live teach when everyone in the class is there together, and asynchronous is something that you put up online that kids can access at any time and do it at any time they want.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we weren't really able to launch this whole process in a meaningful way, and really nobody was. So what do you guys think so far about our asynchronous model that we're working through right now?
I think it works for some kids, but it's not really teaching, it's assigning work.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I don't think kids are gaining new skills because of it. They're just practicing old ones.
And is that because we haven't really tried to push new stuff and we just don't know, or we are trying to push new stuff but we don't think it's really going to land in this format?
I think it's a little bit of fear and a little bit of fear of the unknown and a little bit maybe not trusting our own skills.
Okay.
One thing I'm noticing, this is April, I did try to teach a new skill, just using Play Pause It and then whatever supports are built into Khan Academy. And I think like some kids are able to independently learn like that. They reach out if they don't understand, or like watch the supplemental videos that I provided, or they'll like use the hints or the videos embedded in Khan Academy. But some kids seem to just kind of give up. Even though I leave the Khan Academy assignments open for unlimited attempts and they're supposed to retry it until they get 75%, more kids were just submitting their screenshots with like 25% correct or 50% correct. So I think I have a question of like how to get kids motivated to use the supports that are there, even if we're learning in an asynchronous manner.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback off of what April said, and also how to like teaching kids how to ask for help in an effective way and how to recognize when they need help and what kind of help that they need. Because I feel like I've gotten all the questions I've got have been very open-ended, like, Ms. Glickman, I don't know what to do. And there haven't been a lot of, I tried this specific thing and I need help with it. It's more just, I don't know, or I'm not going to ask a question. I'm just going to try the work and maybe it's going to be completely wrong. And so I think some kids are probably nervous about that and scared, and some kids don't know how to ask for help and have never learned that skill. And so I think this is an opportunity to try to teach them how. I think someone put that in the chat, like how to be more self-sufficient, how to advocate for themselves in an effective way. And I also think that there are some kids for whom asynchronous learning is always going to be more difficult, that need a little bit more modeling, or that learn best through hands-on things, and that this virtual learning is just going to be more difficult for them overall. And so trying to come up with ways, whether synchronous or asynchronous, to give those kids more support, because I think there are kids for whom this is just significantly more challenging than learning in a classroom.
Got it. Definitely agree. We get a few comments to the same points in the comment board. I think then what we may want to try and do is try and come up with, to use Jayshrie's term, what are some of those soft skills that we need to get across to these kids to make asynchronous learning a little more fruitful. And so I'm guessing that the best way to do that might be to come up with some mini lessons on those soft skills. So maybe as a team, we can try and between now and maybe the next PDs we have or whatever, we'll come up with some brainstorms around those kind of things and see if we can come up with a few lessons that could be shared across the curriculum for those types of skills and whatnot. And then maybe that'll help improve some of the kids' ability in this new kind of world order, at least for the time being. We don't know how long this is going to last. So here we go. And Chelsea, good point about the misunderstandings. I've seen that plenty whenever we're dealing with, like, even just my back and forth with kids about what's wrong with their tech or anything like that. I get such varied, levels of communication back. So in some cases I get, the internet doesn't work. And that's a pretty vague statement for kids who actually are connected to the internet, but they're trying to describe something else that's really going on with their computer, but they don't really have the words for it. So anyway, any other quick thoughts before we move on? I don't want to spend too much time on that piece of it.
This is Rose. I have been teaching new skills for the past 3 weeks. But I will say, like, I've been choosing things that I know that I'm confident they can do on their own. So there are some things that I'm not teaching with the modules, because I know, like, there'd be a lot of questions. It would be really high, like more high level. So I'm sticking to the things that I know can be taught. And I also think that this is definitely working for some students, but there are other students who are just like coming on to office hours, and they want me to like reteach what's already in the lesson, and they don't really have questions. They just want to like sit there and do the work with me, which I'm happy to do. But I mean, if all of my students wanted to do that, there wouldn't be enough time in the day. But not all my students are asking for that type of help. Like, a lot of them are just either doing it or not doing it. So it's been interesting. I think we definitely can teach new things. It just depends on what you want to teach, and it depends on like the level of rigor.
Yep, all good points. April, I liked your last comment as well. Plan, time management, etc. I'll speak even from the perspective of a parent. I have a son in high school as well, and I can see him basically, it's clear to him that a lot of these grades aren't mattering that much, and so he's kind of blowing through stuff and not really putting all that much time into a lot of his lessons. So I think we probably have that little disease creeping through all our students as well. So something else to think about as we try and figure out what expectations for I4 are going to be. All right, we're going to switch back over to the presentation now. And oops. So these are those same resources, and I think I shared this out last time, but I'll share it out again today. If people want to have it, let me do it right now. That way people have it. Lazo, I know you're on there, so if you can approve this right away, that'd be swell. Okay. So what we're going to do really quickly is I'm going to go right to the hold a live Q&A with Google Meet and Google Slides. So we're going to walk through how this works. So we have the full instructions there, but we have our Google Meet, and we're in it right now, and we're recording the meeting right now. And then I'm in Slides, and I'm going to go to Presenter View. And here I am, and I'm going to go ahead to Audience Tools. And I now have the ability to get questions. So if you all go to this link, then you guys can ask questions of me. So it's slides.app.goo. Actually, I think I can put this in the chat. And go back to it. I'm just going to post this in the chat and you guys hopefully can click right on it. So while I'm presenting, you all can click and ask questions as we go. But that's basically the gist of that one. That's all you really need to do to get that one working. So I can type in here, hey, it's Deegan. And I submit that, and I'm going to have to actually break out of my presentation so I can see that. There we go. And then anything you all type is going to show up here. There's Ms. O's question, et cetera, et cetera. I can respond to it. Oops. There we go. Or what is a Deegan? Good question. Many people have asked, few have understood. You can toggle between them and you can ask your questions back and forth. I can also share any notes I'm adding. And then I can keep moving along and you guys can keep following along as I go.
Mark, sorry if I missed this. Is this like in conjunction with kids doing a regular video call and like potentially being able to verbalize questions, or would they only be watching the slides and then typing questions?
They can be watching the slides and typing the questions, but since it's in the Google Meet, yes, they could be talking as well. So it's another way to, while they're doing it, you can be having the conversation. Like if you were sharing a slide live via Google Meet, then they could do the audience tools in here and they could be commenting in here. And that way you can see it while you're presenting. Because if you all can notice, when I'm doing the Google Meet, I have to keep switching back to that one to actually see the slot, to see the chat progression. Because I'm presenting, I don't actually see that anymore. But if I go to the slides and I'm in the slide view and I pull up the Q&A, I can be doing that as I'm presenting and I can kind of keep going forward and back through it and the folks can see it and I can be chatting back and forth. It's an option with.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is this an extension like on the slide deck? I'm sorry, I missed it.
It's actually built into Google Slides. It's an audience tool that's built in. So as soon as you're in presenter mode, you can just start the audience tool and you can start a live chat.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Hey Deegan,
Yep.
one thing with my live teaches that I found helpful is that instead of sharing your whole screen, you could share just one. What are these things called? Tab. What? One tab, yeah. And
yeah.
So that way, like you can keep up your slide deck while also while you have the presenter view up for yourself.
So you're doing the window one like this?
Yeah. Exactly. So
yep. With
that one, you could just have that, and then you have you could switch the slide deck off to the side.
Exactly. Cool. All right. So that was just a quick tool. I happened to mention it last time, so I wanted to make sure we walk through it. I'm going to close out of that. We're going to go back to our presentation. Oops. There we go. And we're going to keep advancing along here. Instructions for that are in there. Again, I'm not sure how it works in live. Like right now, we're doing mostly stuff with, I think, Canvas discussion. I mean, Canvas conferences. So I don't know how that's working out with you all. Are people doing that mostly, or are they using Google Meets? Anybody got different things they're using?
I use conferences. I like it. Yeah, you can share your screen, you can chat. Can you be quiet, please? Video. I like it, and kids find it easy to use, I think.
Because it's in the same, you know,
it's where they find their work. Yeah.
Cool. All right, this is the same link you guys have had since the beginning with all the different resources that we talked about last time. So in making the videos cooler, real quick, I wanted to just walk through this a little more slowly than I did last time, but just make sure people understood what we were trying to say. So when you're trying to record your voice, and this is the option for if you need to do closed captioning for your videos, or you need to do subtitles because you've got EL learners in your class, then the basic gist of how to do this was you're going to open a doc. So I'm going to go over here and just create a new doc. And then I'm going to open YouTube. Here's the random YouTube I was doing because I'm a nerd. And then
master Excel charts and graphs.
I'm a big fan of doing this. I happen to use the tab scissors, tab glue to do it. So here I am. I'm going to put the two tabs right next to each other. So this is my YouTube video. This is my Google Doc. And then I already have the tab scissors Chrome extension on here. So when I hit this, it's going to split my tabs. It's going to split my screen. Just makes life a little easier for the managing of this. So on the right-hand side, I've got my YouTube, and on the left-hand side, I have my doc. And then if I go here, I can go to tools and I can go to voice typing. And I can immediately, actually, I want to make sure this is.
Take your data viz skills to the next level. I'm Chris Dutton.
Skipping my ad. Then I hit click to speak on this one. Oh, great. And it's a video with no actual audio. So I'm just going to talk. Hey, this is Deegan, and this is me recording my voice. But if I'd already recorded the video, the audio from the video would already be popping here into my Google Doc. Isn't that cool?
Thank you for joining me today. I'm Linda Tracy, and I'll be taking you through how to build the interactive Excel dashboard that you see behind me. I'm ready to go with my I Simply Excel t-shirt on. And to quote Stephen Few, a dashboard is a visual display of the most important information needed to achieve one or more objectives, consolidators and arrange.
All right, and I wanted to run that just to show you that it does actually grab the audio pretty well, especially if it's well-spoken, you've got the audio at a certain level and all that good stuff.
So Deegan.
Yes.
So I could record myself reading the text, and then it will type it into a Google Doc for me.
Correct. You got it. And so if you created any video in PlayPosit or anywhere else, and you're using that, YouTube, wherever, and you're using that within your lesson, and you just want to have closed caption within that lesson, within that video, then you can basically run the video like I'm doing in a split screen, record it in Google Docs. Google Docs will essentially transcribe it for you. Then you take that transcription and you're going to copy and paste it into your YouTube video. So if you have a YouTube video, and I don't have an individual one up here, you would go into YouTube Creator to do that.
But with Excel, we can take them one step further.
You'd go into YouTube Creator. So I'm going to actually stitch this back together just so we have full screen again. And once again, that's tab scissors and tab glue. I know I put that in one of my 3 things, so hopefully you've seen that at some point. But if you've got YouTube and you've got your own stuff, I don't know if I have anything on my WLA channel. I'm not sure I do. I'd have to pull up a different channel for this because I don't think I have any videos. But if you have your own videos, then you can actually go into the YouTube Creator Manager and all that, and you can copy and paste the text, and then you can sort of space it where you want it to be. So you could, whenever like a new sentence starts or a new paragraph, you could caption that part in at that location and leave that caption up for the duration. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect where it's like word for word the way it does on a Netflix video or something, but it'll be good enough. But you can actually pace it along with the video at whatever speed you want. I'll try and send a better little link or video for that as well. I think actually the one I sent, let me see where it is. Yeah, I think both of these videos are actually pretty good at explaining that. And then this one is the best one for transcribing the videos, which is that process we just did with the Google Doc. But these links are really good for all that type of stuff.
So Deegan, I was when I uploaded my video to YouTube, you can the closed captioning option on that also was working without having to do additional.
Did it transcribe it for you automatically?
It did.
Awesome, cool. So I tried that before, and it was really clunky back in the day. So maybe it's a lot better than it used to be.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they've been working on that. But I was just checking it with the video that I uploaded, and it's working.
Awesome, thanks. All right, the next one we were going to talk about was green screens. So here are all the links to all that stuff. Again, it's in the video. I mean, it's in the slide deck. The one I'm doing is actually this first one to make a green screen on the cheap, but again, the stuff isn't here yet, but literally all this guy did was buy a fluorescent green poster board from Michael's. And I actually think Michael's is still open. They might be one of the few retail stores that's still open, at least on occasion. And anyway, he bought a bunch of them, literally put it on his wall behind himself in his office, and was able to start doing green screen videos. And the only reason to do this would be to add something a little bit funky to the stuff you're doing with the kids. So if, say, you're doing a history lesson, you could put yourself in front of a historical landmark or something like that. Or if you wanted to have some other kind of cool graphic behind you, then you could take some, flat video off of the internet or some images you have on your computer or whatever, and you can make that your background after you've recorded yourself talking or whatever it is you're doing. Just another cool lesson starter. Wanted to be able to demo this one, but unfortunately don't have the tools. So we're going to move on. Any questions on green screen? Has anyone ever done it?
CVS also has a bright green poster board for not too expensive, and that's definitely open.
Cool. Yes, Burger, thank you. Don't wear a green shirt. Very bad advice if you're doing green screen. Or as Adam says, wear a green shirt for that exact reason. That is kind of cool, actually. You can sort of disappear, or at least you can be a floating head if you match the color up pretty well. All right, moving along. So lesson starter ideas. I'm going to turn this over to Miss Janet briefly, but we have created this tiny little spreadsheet where we're just coming up with some silly ideas for what we could do for lessons. And it was the two videos that I shared out a little earlier today. One was Janet's Tinkercad, and the other one was just a treetop Barbie that I got from NPR Science. So it actually, I heard it on Shortwave, which is a podcast I really like. And then I found the video, and it's about a woman who does canopy research in the forest. And she had this idea of creating a Barbie doll that would look like a scientist. And she went to Mattel, and Mattel said no. And they kind of did this back and forth. But anyway, it's kind of a cool little lesson starter. And I actually thought it wouldn't be a bad little idea for an extension project where kids are at home. They're kind of bored right now. Maybe they could take their dolls or their younger siblings' dolls and create a cool new science outfit for them. And they could create their own treetop Barbie or coronavirus scientist Barbie or whatever it is you want to have them be. Anyway, it was kind of a cool idea. And with that, I'm going to now have Janet talk to us about Tinkercad.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Mark. So just to kind of piggyback on the treetop Barbie and projects that students can do at home, I think it's really important that we try to empower our students to stay creative even though we're in these very new landscapes. And so, so a couple of ideas that I've been running through include using Tinkercad. And I know a few of you have used this before. Mark, can I share my screen? Is that?
Yeah, I just dropped. You should be able to do it.
Okay. Let's see if I can get you guys in here. All right, can everybody see my screen? Was it? Okay, great, yes, okay. It is a little bit tricky to see where everybody is. Okay, cool. So Tinkercad is a browser-based CAD program, so computer-aided design. So we've got a lot of great like tie-ins to computer science and all of those things, but it's a very easy landscape to work in. So it's a drag and drop system. It's gonna work on students' Chromebooks. As a teacher, you can set up a teacher account. And that's really quite simple to do. You end up getting dumped into this virtual landscape, and you're able to navigate around it, orbit around, drag and drop objects into it, manipulate those objects, and kind of create interesting and dynamic shapes. You know, there could be a design challenge here for all kinds of different purposes. Maybe you're creating an object to solve a problem. Maybe it's something to do with the coronavirus. Maybe it's something to do with making something better at home, improving an object that is in your everyday life that is very frustrating right now. So that's kind of one thing that you can do in here. But another thing that I love is that Tinkercad has been working with the Smithsonian, and they've been creating and uploading a lot of different models from their collection and bringing them into Tinkercad, which is really cool. So you can start to drag and drop some of these objects. Now, these are a little bit of a big file, so sometimes they take a second to actually get in there. Let's see if there we go. Now I have a million pergolesi chairs. Okay, cool. Maybe I'm making a set of them for something. But at any rate, you can distort them, but you can also arrange them in different ways. So now if I just kind of fast forward here, I'm gonna make you guys bear with me for a second. We've got a lot of different kinds of design challenges that we could pose to students. So everything obviously from, you know, geometry and computer design to things like history and social lessons and social justice and social movements and things of that nature. I did kind of a redesign of the WLA lobby using some of the objects from the Smithsonian. So maybe there's a challenge like you have to incorporate 4 pieces, 4 artifacts from the Smithsonian, a custom object, and something that a friend made. And you need to incorporate that into your exhibition space or whatever that might be. And so you can kind of see like how you might need to get students to work within the same scale factor and kind of communicate, collaborate. Maybe, you know, one of my classmates designed this bench, but I really like it, so I want to include that in my space as well. It's very easy in Tinkercad to share files, especially if you as the teacher have the primary account. You can allow permissions to have students share files with one another, and you can also drive that as well. You do not need to be an expert in computer design to do any of these things. The great thing about Tinkercad is that they also have an exceptional set of tutorials that are built into this platform. So if it is something that you wanted to try out, maybe, you know, this will lead to a new assessment tool where the final, you know, project is a virtual tour of your space. That's really awesome. You can challenge your students to do all of that and follow the lessons that are provided here under Teach. So Teach and Learn are really great resources within Tinkercad. The other thing that I definitely want to say is that I'm a resource to you all as well if anybody wants to take something like this on. Because I've done a lot of work like this before, and 3D design and CAD design is not just for 3D printing or anything like that. It's also really great for Minecraft and other virtual landscapes that you might be in. So definitely it's kind of like one of those things to just think a little bit creatively and empower your students to do something creative as well. So let me see, does anybody have questions about that? Awesome, Ashley, yay. I would love to work with anybody that wants to try something like this out. I think it could be really fun. And yeah, and again, if you can get your students to work in a scale factor that's the same, then you've got the ability to merge exhibition spaces and create something a lot more dynamic at the very end. Let's see, what else did I want to say about that? The video that is linked in that, where did that go, Deegan? In the lesson starter ideas for WLA, the lesson under resources is a video that I put together for just kind of overviewing Tinkercad. Yay, okay. Mark, do you want to jump in with your next bullet point?
So, and Jana's talking about this one, which is in the, if you have the slide deck, it's this one here, the lesson starters link, which is opening this little mini spreadsheet, and Janet's Tinkercad, full Tinkercad video is here, which goes into a lot more detail. Tinkercad is literally like one of those rabbit holes you could get lost into for days. So enjoy if you do start messing around with it and playing around with it. All right, I'm going to kind of mosey. So we've got a couple of these other ideas on here. So check out some of these other ones when you get a chance. There's some thoughts and ideas about how to give like a little lesson starter video, and then an extension or an idea you might want to come up with. And what we're trying to do, we're eventually hoping to tie these things a little more directly into standards and other things like that. And we hope to sort of make a whole lesson portfolio eventually over time. And we're going to hopefully be working with Adam and others, trying to take the lessons and the style of Project Studio and embed it in the classroom and all that kind of stuff. But that's a long-term project that we're looking at, but we thought we'd just start to come up with some ideas about how to look at classroom projects a little differently. So we're just giving a few little lesson starters here and then some other things as well. And I'll just point out my little math one here was Pixar Math Behind the Movies, and it's a TED Talk video with a Pixar engineer who explains how, wait a minute, I realize I'm not sharing, am I? Let me show you what the heck I'm actually talking about. So this one here is a TED Talk video from Pixar where he starts to describe how you get Woody to move around the screen.
Wondering when you're ever going to need this stuff. Just remember that anytime you see...
I want to get the right spot. Hold on. Anyway, he starts talking about all sorts of crazy stuff with trig and geometry.
To make equations and numbers, we again introduce a coordinate system.
And it's about how they move all their characters around the screen, how they use basically core concepts that we teach in algebra, trig, geometry. And that's how they actually get most of their characters to move. And then they get a little deeper into stuff like when they have sort of unnatural shapes. So it's obviously fairly easy if you're doing a cylinder and trying to move it around the screen. But then if you're trying to move Woody's kind of wiggly body and legs and stuff, then it gets a little different. So he goes into that as well. It's kind of cool. It's a good intro to some stuff. And there's some other interesting ones here as well. The next one I want to move on to, though, is actually insert learning. So I thought I would kind of give a quick little overview of that. And really quickly, this is what insert learning looks like. I'm going to actually log in with my other account. Hold on a second. Too many accounts. There we go. Okay. So we're going to get into these in a second, but I want to show what this actually does. On any website that you're on, so this is just a website on how to make a paper airplane, you can have the Insert Learning Chrome extension, which is right here. And as soon as you bring it up, then you can start to add elements anywhere you want on the page. So this is very similar to what PlayPosit is within a video. You can do this with Insert Learning on any website you find. So any website that has an article or any other interesting thing that you want to share with the kids, you can add sticky notes, questions, discussion points, etc. So I can add a question that might explain, like, what is the dart in paper airplanes? And I can add that, or I can add more information as well. Actually, let me change that to a question. That should have been a question. And then I create that question. If I want to turn it into a multiple choice question, then I could have A. And this is very similar to the stuff you already add in PlayPosit, but it's got all the same kind of things. If you use the sticky note allows you to use just about any embed code you want. So if I had a YouTube link or an audio or anything else, I can paste that in here. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to switch over to this one, which is one that I've already done. And I'm going to fire up Insert Learning on this one. And what we have at the top as an example, and you can do this again, is you can record yourself reading the page. So Ms. Brown, like you were talking about before, in this scenario, you can actually have the audio embedded right there. So the student can actually hit this.
In 1863, Kit Carson launched a brutal and relentless search and destroy campaign against the Navajo people. Under his command, the U.S. cavalry swept across the Navajo countryside, chopping down fruit trees, destroying crops, and butchering sheep.
And then the kids obviously can stop, rewind, they can go back, they can move along it. And you can do that whole thing within this. So they could prompt it. You could have the whole lesson at the top, or you could put little individual clips of each section throughout. Again, you can ask questions. You can have a discussion thing where kids could just be putting their opinions. And you can embed things like videos and websites. So whatever kind of stuff you want to embed, you can do that. So it's very, like I said, it's pretty similar to what we do with PlayPosit, but it kind of allows you to take any text-based or other like article, online article, or anything like that, and develop it into a lesson. And the tools are pretty straightforward. It's basically these three tools. At any time, you can quickly check to see what it's going to look like if the student's there. So this is what it looks like for the student. They type in their answer, et cetera, et cetera. Et cetera, et cetera. They kind of keep going. Now you're going to get their responses within your Insert Learning. Student will mark it as done, and then you, the teacher, would see that information. And within IL, you can actually create your classrooms. You can assign the assignments you're creating. You can add your students, and you'll have grades and all that good stuff built in as well. So Shahid, it's not synced in Canvas yet, but I believe it does have an LTI. So I am looking to work to get it synchronized. So hopefully it will be before too long, but it always takes a little bit of time to add that. So I'm working on actually multiple things. So for those of you who've seen it, Flipgrid is actually fully embedded in Canvas. Like Canvas works with Flipgrid. So that's already in there for those of you who use and learn that tool. But Insert Learning, among others, I'm kind of working on it because it always takes a little bit of time. The hope too is that it actually will populate the classes and all that stuff, but I don't know to what extent it does that. Each LTI is a little different in that way. So some of them automatically populate your Canvas classes, others do not. It all depends. But I will look into it, Shahid. I'll let you know. All right. So again, this is one of my faves. I don't know how many folks have seen it before. I'm going to get out of this one. One second. I'm getting a little lost. I'm going to get out of this one. There we go. By the way, the one I used for the recording was called Clip.it, clip.it. So I'll quickly go to that one as well. And there's lots of different ones you can use. I just recorded my voice in QuickTime reading the website, and then I upload it here. And then once you have that, you can get the then you can get your audio and get your embed code. Within Insert Learning, you're always going to use the embed code. So the same thing for YouTube. It'll natively understand that stuff. You can play with the widget. You can do all sorts of things here. You can change things, make them look a little different. But I can upload any video, any audio that I have. Let me find the one I did before. Oops. Oh no, I got to go back. Hold on. Too much stuff. So that's the audio I had before. I upload it really quickly. Now I've got it here. I can leave it as public, save it, submit. And now I've got it for whatever purpose I need. Embed codes are here. Again, I can mess with that widget, but once I have that, then I can pop it here, and that's how I was able to put it in here. So when I go back to my teacher view, if I didn't have this element, I can put it here, and there's my clip. Excuse me. Anyway, I find that one pretty easy. It's a nice free site, pretty good for recording audio, etc. Yes, April, I'll look into Edge Elastic on Canvas as well. If anybody wants to put any other stuff that you know you're using and you'd like to see, this is probably a good time over the coming weeks for me to be able to investigate getting those LTIs built into Canvas. One of the other ones I'm working on, so people know, is Google Drive and Google Docs has its own LTI, which I believe allows you to, similar to those people who've used Google Classroom, you can create an assignment or a document within Google Docs, say, and then using the LTI within Canvas, you can essentially have a copy created in every single kid's Google Drive, and then everything will populate. And those, as soon as the kids complete those individual Google Docs, they come back to you, shared back to you, and you can grade them, et cetera, that way. So all that kind of happens seamlessly if the LTI is working correctly. So another one of the things I'm working on right now. Okay. Any questions about Insert Learning before I move on, or Clip It? Cool. All right. Last one I want to get into is Canvas discussions. So really quickly, we're going to open Canvas. And Canvas discussions is a little different. But it is very, actually, we'll go to our PLC here. I created a discussion here last time with this. Let's see if it opens. Come on. There we go. And it's not dissimilar from a lot of other things you do, but I think in this asynchronous world, it might just be a way to keep kids talking and kind of having an interaction back and forth. This could be low stakes type stuff where the kids can kind of just share their thoughts and opinions. But how I've seen this in online classes, probably a lot of you have done this in your higher ed classes, is you sort of essentially get participation credit for contributing a couple of times, either a comment on the original discussion thread or a response to another person's comment, etc. The obvious pitfalls and thoughts about this is that you have to get, you have to be mindful of our kids and monitoring their language and any kind of negative behavior within the discussion. But I think most kids would respect it just like they would in a classroom or elsewhere. But I do think it's not a bad way. Like if you're talking about a given book or a given social movement or something in your class, a good way to come up with some prompt questions and discussion topics, and then have kids just kind of go and add to it, and then just tell the kids, hey, everyone has to put in at least one original response and then at least one peer comment on someone else's response over the next coming week during the next module or something like that. Anyway, I thought it's not a bad one, especially in the asynchronous world. It's a good one to get us kind of working on, thinking about, and another way to kind of get the kids to sort of interact online when they're not necessarily able to do so. Like only so many kids are going to contribute during office hours. Only so many kids are going to chat within it, like they might attend, but they're not necessarily communicating back and forth. And this might be a way to sort of draw some kids out a little bit. It also prepares them for what they might see, because I know a lot more classrooms are looking like this in post-secondary education. So it's another way to kind of help our kids get to a certain point. Oh, cool. Thanks, Brown. Excellent. And Jayshree asked about the polling tool, and thanks, Jamie. Zoom does have a polling tool built into it. Any other questions about that? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there are other ways to do checks for real-time understanding as well. And there's lots of different options there, but I'm not sure which of the tools we talked about today, if any of them have it. Insert Learning definitely does not. I don't think does Canvas conferences allow that? Does anybody know? I'm not sure it does.
Mark, you showed us a tool earlier this year that I used once. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like where the kids have your presentation pulled up on their screen, and there's lots of different like interactions that they can do, and that has polling. But I can't remember the name.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to go look back at my notes. I know the one you're talking about, but it's not coming to me immediately. But yes, I'll put I'll put that in this same slide presentation once I look it up.
It's Pear Deck.
There it is. Yep. So Pear Deck's awesome, and a lot of these, by the way, Pear Deck I still think has at least some sort of free option right now that's extended a little bit. So I think the one thing I would definitely encourage is get out there and find as many of these free to try options during this sort of crisis time. Pretty much every ed company that I can think of is using this as sort of a free promotional period for them, in the hopes that teachers will get kind of hooked, and then they'll actually lobby to purchase some of this stuff when they get back to real learning. I think that's the goal. So I know Pear Deck, among others, is doing that. So I would encourage everyone to get out there and do that. I tried to include that information in what the heck was it? I don't think I have it pulled up. My response stuff. I don't know where the heck I put it though. In that master spreadsheet that I have shared out, which I think I have shared out on here. Hold on one second. It's this one. So I think Pear Deck has that. Pear Deck's actually pretty amazing. If you get into that one you'll probably get pretty hooked. And Booty is a huge proponent of that one. So if you want to also learn how to do it, he's done a lot more with it than I have. So he's probably got better tips and tricks on that one. Yeah, so this one, here's the Pear Deck one. I don't know if they're still offering free. We'll take a look at it real quick. So they're giving you lots of resources. I don't see anything specific about how long. I know the normal free trial is it might be 30 days. So hopefully you can mess around with that too. All right, that covers all my main stuff. Any other questions or thoughts? I know some of us you guys have office hours starting soon. I have a meeting starting at 10. So, and Ms. Leonard, yeah, Poll Everywhere, I've used that too. And that does have interactions directly with Google Slides. Yep. Ashley, for Edmodo, do you have, so for Edmodo, do you create your own classrooms in there? Because I know Edmodo also has sort of a learning management system type of thing.
Yeah, so you create your own classroom with the class code. So Sarah Hartzell and I are actually gonna use it soon, hopefully, and then to try to get like across grade levels, get them interacting and talking to each other.
Cool.
So I'll let you know how it goes.
Awesome. And then one final piece that I want people to be aware of. One of the things that I'm pushing and trying to lobby for in our with my academic technology budget is to sort of have seed money for people who want to buy subscriptions to a lot of these tools that we're probably going to be trying out over the next, months. So if you're trying out stuff and you're using the free versions and whatnot, and you're finding that it's going to be sort of like so awesome that you would hate to lose it after that point, please let me know. And then we're going to look at ways that we can provide some of these mini subscriptions to folks going forward into next school year. So don't assume you're going to have to pay out of pocket if you want to maintain or keep that resource. We're going to actually try and find the resources to help you guys get that stuff. Okay. All right. Any other final thoughts? Again, I don't want to hold people up. I know we all get stuff going on. So I want to make sure folks have time to, take a breath, use the restroom before office hours, etc. Cool. I know we kind of rushed through. I'd love to have more meaningful time for this kind of stuff, but appreciate your time. Thanks everybody for coming, and enjoy your Thursday.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank
you again.
Thank you, Deegan. Yeah.